Have you ever been in a room where one person's silence was louder than everyone else's shouting? What is that power, and how can you command it? We live in a world of noise, a world where everyone is fighting to be heard, where the loudest voice often wins the argument, where constant chatter is mistaken for wisdom, and where silence is seen as weakness. But what if I told you that true power, true respect, isn't found in being the loudest person in the room? The ancient Stoics knew this secret. They understood that silence isn't empty space waiting to be filled. It's a weapon. It's a shield. It's a tool of immense power that most of us have completely forgotten how to wield. Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in the ancient world, wrote more about the power of restraint than conquest. Seneca, advisor to emperors, spoke more about the wisdom of withholding words than speaking them. Epictetus taught that our greatest strength lies not in what we say, but in what we choose not to say. Today, we're going to unlock the 7 levels of Stoic silence. This isn't just about not talking. This is a strategic framework for earning respect, gaining clarity, and building unshakable inner strength. We'll progress from the first foundational level that anyone can master today to the 7th level, the ultimate form of self-mastery that commands not just respect, but awe. Stay with me as we journey through these levels. By the end, you'll understand why silence is the most underestimated superpower in human interaction. Let's begin with the foundation. Level 1 is the silence of restraint, the discipline of not interrupting, not feeling compelled to fill every conversational gap, and truly listening. This seems simple, but watch any conversation around you. Notice how people are waiting for their turn to speak rather than actually listening. They're formulating their response while the other person is still talking. The Stoic practices restraint. They resist the urge to jump in, to correct, to add their perspective immediately. Why does this command respect? Because in a world of constant interruption, the person who truly listens stands out like a lighthouse in a storm. When you practice the silence of restraint, you're telling the other person, your thoughts matter. You are worth my full attention. This creates an immediate psychological bond. People feel heard, valued, and respected, and they associate these positive feelings with you. Seneca wrote, "We were given 2 ears and 1 mouth, so that we might listen twice as much as we speak." Here's how to practice this today. In your next conversation, count to 3 before responding. Let there be space. Let there be silence. Watch how the other person often continues talking, revealing more. Going deeper in business meetings, resist the urge to immediately offer solutions. Let others finish their thoughts completely. You'll be amazed at how much more people will share when they feel truly heard. Level 1. The foundational silence, the silence of restraint. Level 2 elevates us to the noble silence, the refusal to participate in gossip, slander, or negative talk about others who aren't present to defend themselves. This level of silence is about integrity. It's about recognizing that every time you engage in gossip, you're training others to see you as someone who cannot be trusted with sensitive information. But when you consistently refuse to participate in negative talk about others, something powerful happens. People begin to trust you with their deepest concerns because they know you won't betray their confidence. The noble silence commands respect because it demonstrates character. It shows that you have principles, that you won't compromise, even for the temporary pleasure of social bonding through shared criticism. People may initially be disappointed that you won't join in their gossip, but they'll ultimately respect you for it. And more importantly, they'll trust you. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself how much trouble he avoids who does not look to see what his neighbor says or does. Practice this by becoming the person who changes the subject when gossip starts. When someone begins talking negatively about a colleague, simply say, "I'd rather not discuss someone who isn't here to share their perspective." Or redirect, "Speaking of work, how's your project going?" Watch how this simple practice transforms your relationships and your reputation. Level 2. The noble silence, the silence over gossip and slander. Now we reach level 3, the unbreakable silence, mastering the pause when faced with insults, provocations, or emotional attacks. This is where most people fail. Someone insults us, and our immediate instinct is to defend, to attack back, to prove them wrong. But the Stoic understands that the person who remains calm in the face of provocation holds all the power. Your silence in these moments isn't weakness, it's the ultimate display of strength. When you don't react to insults, several things happen. First, you maintain your dignity while the other person loses theirs. Second, you force them to confront their own behavior without the distraction of your emotional response. Third, any observers will see the clear contrast between your composure and their lack of control. The unbreakable silence commands respect because it demonstrates that you cannot be easily shaken. It shows that your inner peace is not dependent on others' opinions or actions. This is incredibly attractive to others because it represents a level of self-mastery they wish they possessed. Epictetus taught, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." practice this by implementing the 10-second rule. When someone says something that triggers you, count to 10 before responding. Often, you'll find that the urge to react emotionally passes, and you can respond from a place of wisdom rather than wounded pride. In heated family arguments, try saying, "I need a moment to think about what you've said." This pause often diffuses the entire situation. Level 3. The unbreakable silence. The silence in the face of insults. Level 4 brings us to the strategic silence, knowing when not to offer your opinion, correction, or "I told you so," even when you're absolutely right. This level requires tremendous wisdom and self-control. We often feel compelled to correct others, to share our superior knowledge, to prove our point. But the Stoic understands that being right isn't always about being heard. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is allow others to learn through their own experience. The strategic silence commands respect because it shows social intelligence and emotional maturity. It demonstrates that you're secure enough in your own knowledge that you don't need constant validation. People begin to see you as wise rather than just knowledgeable. And wisdom is far more respected than mere intelligence. When you practice strategic silence, you also avoid the trap of becoming the person others avoid, because they know you'll always have something to correct or improve about their ideas. Instead, you become someone others seek out because they know you'll offer thoughtful input only when it truly matters. Seneca observed, "Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end." Sometimes people need to reach their own endings before they're ready for new wisdom. Practice this in your workplace by resisting the urge to immediately point out flaws in others' ideas. Instead, ask questions that guide them to discover the issues themselves. What do you think might happen if, or have you considered? In personal relationships, when someone is making a decision you disagree with, try saying, "I trust your judgment," and let them learn from their own choices. If you're finding value in this exploration of Stoic wisdom, take a moment to subscribe. We delve into these life-changing principles every week, and I'd love to have you join our community of modern Stoics. Level 4. The strategic silence. The silence of withholding unnecessary truths. Level 5 introduces us to the inquisitive silence. Using silence as a strategic tool in conversation to encourage others to reveal more, to feel heard, and to expose their true intentions. This is silence as a superpower. Most people are uncomfortable with silence in conversation and will rush to fill it. When you become comfortable with silence, you can use it to gather information, understand people's true motivations, and build deeper connections. The inquisitive silence commands respect because it positions you as someone who is genuinely interested in understanding others. It makes people feel important and valued. In negotiations, this silence can be incredibly powerful. Often, the person who speaks first after a long pause is the one who makes concessions. This level of silence also demonstrates confidence. Only someone who is secure in themselves can be comfortable with conversational silence. Others will perceive this as a sign of inner strength and self-assurance. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Confine yourself to the present." When you're truly present in conversation, comfortable with silence, you create space for deeper truths to emerge. Practice this by asking a thoughtful question and then remaining silent, even if the pause feels uncomfortable. In job interviews, after answering a question, resist the urge to keep talking. Let your answer stand. In personal conversations, when someone shares something important, try responding with silence and attentive body language. Often, they'll share even more meaningful information. Level 5. The inquisitive silence. The silence that invites revelation. Level 6 elevates us to the contemplative silence, detaching from external noise to connect with your inner wisdom. This is where true clarity and good decisions are born. This isn't just about being quiet during conversations. This is about creating regular periods of silence in your life for reflection, planning, and connecting with your deeper values. In our hyper-connected world, the person who regularly practices contemplative silence develops a clarity of thought that others lack. The contemplative silence commands respect because people can sense when someone operates from a place of inner clarity. Your decisions become more thoughtful, your responses more measured, your presence more grounded. Others begin to seek your counsel because they recognize that your thoughts come from a deeper place than surface-level reactions. This level of silence also builds what the Stoics called the inner citadel, an unshakable core of self-knowledge and wisdom that external circumstances cannot disturb. People are naturally drawn to those who possess this inner stability. Seneca Epictetus, every day and every hour ought to be searched and tested. This searching happens in silence, in reflection, in the space between thoughts. Practice this by establishing a daily period of silence, even just 10 minutes of sitting quietly without devices, without distractions. Use this time to reflect on your day, your decisions, your values. Before making important decisions, take time for silent contemplation. Ask yourself, what would my wisest self do in this situation? Level 6, the contemplative silence, the silence of deep thought. Finally, we reach level 7, the transcendent silence, the silence of inner peace, the embodiment of amor fati, the love of fate. This isn't a technique you can practice. It's a state of being you can cultivate. This is the silent acceptance of reality as it is, not as you wish it were. It's an unshakable calm that remains undisturbed by chaos, crisis, or change. This is the silence that commands not just respect, but awe. When you embody the transcendent silence, you become like a mountain, unmoved by the storms that rage around it. People are drawn to this energy because it represents the ultimate form of human mastery, the ability to remain at peace regardless of external circumstances. This level of silence commands respect because it demonstrates that you have transcended the need for external validation, for control over others, for circumstances to be different than they are. You have found peace within yourself, and that peace is magnetic. The transcendent silence is the culmination of all the previous levels. It's the natural result of years of practicing restraint, integrity, emotional control, strategic wisdom, deep listening, and contemplative reflection. Marcus Aurelius, facing plague, war, and betrayal, wrote, "Accept the things to which fate binds you and love the people with whom fate associates you." This is amor fati, the love of fate expressed through transcendent silence. You cannot practice this level directly, but you can cultivate it by embracing each challenge as an opportunity to practice acceptance. When faced with difficulties, instead of fighting reality, try saying silently, "This too is part of my path." Let this acceptance settle into your bones, into your breath, into your very being. Level 7, the transcendent silence, the silence of inner peace, amor fati. We've journeyed through the 7 levels of Stoic silence, from the simple discipline of restraint to the transcendent peace of inner acceptance. Each level builds upon the last, creating a foundation of respect that doesn't demand attention, but naturally commands it. Remember, silence is not an absence. It is a presence. It is a choice. In a world that screams for your attention, your greatest power is to choose where to place your focus and when to offer your silence. This is the path to respect, not because you demand it, but because you embody it. The ancient Stoics understood that true strength lies not in what we say, but in what we choose not to say. Not in how loudly we can speak, but in how deeply we can listen. not in how quickly we can react, but in how thoughtfully we can respond. Start with level 1 today. Practice the silence of restraint. Listen more than you speak, and then gradually work your way through each level. Some days you'll succeed, some days you'll fail, and that's perfectly fine. The path to mastery is not about perfection. It's about practice. Which level of silence are you working on right now? Let me know in the comments below. Share your experiences, your challenges, your victories. We're all walking this path together. Thank you for watching. And remember, control what you can, accept what you can't, and cultivate your inner citadel. Conclusion: the path forward.